It's been a long journey. Appalachia has changed. I don't know if you've been following the rumors, but there's something in the mountains. People from outside are coming in, and they're coming to stay.
You're from one of the local vaults, right? All of my people are at risk.
I'm willing to pay good money if you put an end to this for me.
We ain't gonna let anyone stand in our way.
I need you, all of you, to do your part.
Hello again, Boston. And hello to those streaming. I don't know where the cameras are. Here. Okay, cool. Welcome to the Fallout 76 Wastelanders panel. We're going to be showing you some previews of gameplay. You also have the opportunity to play it hands-on over here. But let's take a look at who our guests are. I have project lead Jeff Gardiner.
Hello, everyone.
Lead artist Ferret. Sorry, I messed up already. Lead designer.
You're really in trouble, Purkey, because my art skills apparently are mad. I guess.
Lead designer Ferret Baudoin. Lead artist, actually, Nate Purkeypile.
Hey.
And design director Mark Tucker.
Hi.
So thank you for joining us, guys. We are getting ready to jump into some Wastelanders gameplay to show off. And so let's get started right outside of Vault 76.
So right away, you're getting the new Wastelander content right out of the doors. And even before, in the vault, we went through and did a pass to make sure that a year has passed, you feel it, it makes sense. For some reason, you make it up. You decided to sleep in for, I go 12 months or so. So
There's an example of our new quest.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, would you leave? I'd stay for a year.
it's kind of
It's
sensible.
really cozy in there. But yeah, there's been some changes to how the quest system works, too, and how it looks on the map now.
Oh yeah, the paper map is amazing. It really presents a world of opportunity. You can select and highlight any quest on the map and activate it or deactivate it, so you don't have to dig into your Pip-Boy at all. You can just go to the paper map and see what's out there.
And for those that have visited Vault 76 before Vault 76, this is a new addition to it with Wastelanders.
You get people. Look, they're talking. It's human beings. It's amazing. And the more, the other thing is that we get to go back to the sort of the strengths of Bethesda. You know, the conversations. We're trying to connect with you with human beings, with emotions. You know, try to give you a real impetus for why you're doing the things you're doing. And conversations like this, you would not believe how long we went back and forth on, because like the initial conversations to try to hook you, to try to make it so that it's like, okay, I get what's going on, and try to orient you. It's, you know.
What?
And I'm sure there's all the quest-specific NPCs that you'll run into and the human characters that you'll run into, but they're kind of littered all over the wasteland at this point, right? You can come across people like Lacey here or others throughout throughout your journey.
There's people randomly all over the place. Wonderful. There's also like some people that we are placed in specific places. Along the main quest, which used to be the main quest, there's the people that can help orient you, try to give you some information as to what's going on there. It took a lot of back and forth for us with the whole team, trying to make sure that we got the density right.
Special check.
Yeah, we would keep playing the game day after day and be like, is this the right pacing for how far apart people are and how often you run into them? Because we don't want it to feel empty, but you don't want it to feel like someone's talking to you from the woods every 10 feet.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't need to be any particular level to play Wastelanders. You can start it fresh right outside the vault like we display here, or if you're a high-level character, it's
both work. Both work. Yeah, like you get the new intro sort of straight out of the gates, and you can jump right in. But high-level characters can go back there, and they respond to that, too. Because if you're super high-level, then they're a little bit more intimidated than perhaps somebody that's fresh out of the vault.
Yeah, we wanted to make this friendly for both new players, people who are coming back, as well as the veterans. I'm sure several are here who have played the game for hundreds, if not thousands of hours, to find new and exciting content. And special checks and dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. If you are annoyed that we're talking over some of this, don't worry. We'll put this footage up online so you can peruse at your desire later.
And one of the first named locations that's new that you come across is the Wayward. That's close to the Overseer's camp?
That's correct. In fact, you might be able to see it off to the right over there. Conveniently, right where the Overseer used to have her care package for you, they've set up a bar. And so you get to go in and meet some of the cast of characters over there. And it definitely adds a whole new element if you remember the past, where you would just walk through kind of the empty, let's say it dead wasteland, and now there's life. People are building, and you get to help them out.
It's very cozy. Let's pause here for a second. So, instances.
Instances were a huge step for us because one of the things that allows us to do is make it so we're telling a tailored story to the person that's entering it. Before, when you would go into these places, who knows what state it would be in? People could have cleared out the entire dungeon. There could be literally nothing left for you to do, and so that's kind of a hit or miss experience. And also, there's no way that we could really react to you, like your decisions, your choices. Instances make it to where we can cumulatively, step by step, keep track of what you've chosen, and then it's reflected as you're going on. And also, you will not get an empty dungeon. You will get an experience which is going to be full of life, tailored to you going in there.
Yeah, this is super exciting technology for us. I mean, not only for Wastelanders, but for everything we're going to be doing in the future. So it literally is a game changer for us, and you should expect to see more of that kind of content moving forward.
As you can see, you can go in with your team or by yourself. And remember, this also alleviates the lineup at the princess and all the other things. So like Ferret was alluding to, like we can make substantive changes to the storyline based on your unique interactions with the NPCs. It's exciting.
Very personalized experience. Let's enter the Wayward.
Well, not exactly the introduction to the Wayward I would have hoped for. Well, sorry about that, darling. First round's on me. Name's Duchess. There's something I could do for you.
As you can see with our dialogue
Your
here, we're
guess is
not
as
just
good as
limiting
mine,
the player to
sweetheart.
4
He busted in here
specific
saying I needed
options.
to
There's
turn over the
a number of
location
different
some fella named
ways you can
Frank,
interact with
who I
NPCs
guess
based
I
on your
must have served at
specials, the
some
previous
point or another.
events you had
Since
taken
then,
part in,
a steady
as well as
stream
your
of
what kind of
miscreants
character
has
you
been
want to
making
roleplay.
life
The
irritating.
funny thing is, as writers, a lot of us, if anything, we had to limit the number of choices. There were a lot of passes to where it's just like, oh my god, like it's more than a screen full. So we're trying to
Now
get
that you
you to the
mention
right
it,
level of role
I
playing
could
and the right
use an extra pair of
level of
hands.
reactivity to
See?
things you may have done.
That
Yeah, the
boy
design
you
team
put
went
down,
way over the
he's
budget
not gonna
with how many lines of
screw
dialogue are in this. It's shocking.
but I want
actually.
him to be the
They were
last.
very excited about this.
Normally, I'd send my people
And on the
out to
art
clean
side, we had the
house,
important discussion
but my
on which
muscles
beer
run
brand
off,
should be on
so I
Duchess's
don't
shirt
have the
and
body
Old
to spare
Possum.
right now.
Did you win
I'm
that
gonna
one?
pay
I
you
love that.
if you put an end to this for me.
And there's a lot of personality in Duchess and a lot of characters, but how much involvement goes into creating an
That's
individual
what I was
personality for an
hoping.
NPC, whether it's
So,
Duchess or
the
Mort, who I think
details.
we're about to see, or
Now,
Lacey that we met at the
Each of
beginning?
these boys
The funny
came in
thing is
asking
that some
after Crank.
characters almost write
thinking we
themselves.
should make that
I
work
mean,
for us.
it's
How
you
would
like
you
come up
grab
with
the
an
attention of a
idea.
bunch
You know,
of
they as lead
single-minded
designer, they
thugs?
pitch it by me, and sometimes it's like gold. We did it. Yes, just make that happen. And other times it takes some back and forth and some real hard work. But I think at the end, what we're trying to do, especially since before you didn't have anybody to talk to, we want to put our best foot forward. So you're getting a lot of vibrant characters. You know, they should all feel oriented in the world. Yes, there'll be humor and stuff like that, but we're trying to make it so that we're telling a story of like, hey, it was a wasteland. And now the Wastelanders are back, people coming here to explore it, and they react realistically to what's happened in the past and sort of built up based off of that.
Yeah, as a player, it's just exciting to see this wide cast of characters. You know, before we were doing a lot of interesting quests for characters that had effectively died before you came through, and now you get to see these characters, interact with them, and there's some very memorable ones in the lineup. We'll talk about
We'll
those
see
in a
some
bit.
of 'em.
Yeah.
I wanted to pause it right here because, Jeff, you had mentioned the speech checks earlier. We have a red charisma here, which means
The funny thing is that the character over here has too high a charisma. So we have negative speech challenges too, to where it's actually like if you're really not so great, you can choose it. It's one of the best speech checks in the game, actually, because you basically say like,
Not sure
"Yeah,
I've got
we should
enough
send
on
out
hand,
invitations," and then
unfortunately.
she's like,
No.
"Yeah, you can do that,
We're gonna
honey."
draw
You
them
know,
in by making them
it's
think you're Crane.
but we just went
Just give me
crazy
1
with them
second.
because it was, we wanted to add specials. I was planning at one point of doing a pass over all the dialogue to make sure all the specials were represented. And like I said before, I had to actually like yank them out. It's like, okay, we have enough endurance
I
checks.
just
We
want
don't
you to
need
know,
another.
architecture
Here's
ain't
more. I
I
exactly
remember
my
one where there
forte.
was like every special was
Huh.
represented.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
bad.
A little much. We do show
So what
locked
I've
doors, as
chicken
you saw
scratched
there too.
together
So
here
we
for
we,
you
we there was a
is
big
the
debate on the
schematic for
design team
one
whether or not to show
custom
those or
made
not.
Crane
I
treasure
think I won
hunting
it.
Inc.
I don't know,
sign.
but I
If
liked
didn't
knowing
butcher
what
the
I
plans
could
too
do if I
bad,
played a
it's
different
got
character.
little
So it
system
makes it
built
exciting for
in
me.
that
It also-
know that there's other
sending out an
possibilities.
You could also
advertisement
back out and take
and
some
getting this
chems
gang's
sometimes if you're
attention.
so
Yeah.
inclined. And you can pass
You just
checks
read
you
the
may not have
building,
been able to pass
use
before.
the tape it spits out to tell the world
Who doesn't
you're
love cows?
open for business. And
Do
then
you have a
convince
favorite- do
any
you guys
folks
have a
that
favorite
show up
NPC
to
that
tell
you've
you
added
where
so
their
far?
boss is hiding. They didn't teach you
No
how to
spoilers, no
build from
spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
schematics
go.
up in
Well,
that vault of yours,
can we say? We'll say
didn't I?
names. Gale. Gale, I think, is personally my favorite.
That's the spirit.
I think one called Fuzzy Brenda
mine right
in
there.
Camden Park.
Mort's really good.
What are you on
I also
about,
I will not
Mordecai?
actually. Even her name is a spoiler, but there's a doctor I really adore that is fantastic and
Oh,
quirky,
Mort, not
and
the tapes. Well,
yeah, I
find
can't
yourself
say
one
anything more.
refresher.
But there's a host of
Talk to
characters.
You'll
Mort.
find out all
Of course
about
you're
them
gonna
on April
need
7th.
materials, but we should have enough lying
Mort
around to cover you there.
Is voiced by
Get you
somebody
together a
that
little
people
care
may be
package.
familiar with, right?
Throw some rations
Yes,
in there too, so you
I
don't
can't
starve
remember
on me.
his actual name, but
And
it's
so you
Jay
know,
from Jay and
Jay
Silent
might have
Bob.
to
Hughes,
break
right?
some of
Yeah.
the scrap down for parts.
He nailed it.
But I can spot you some workbench
I feel like you did a
materials,
great
too,
job
since you're
of
doing me such a big
sounding
one.
exactly like the ghouls do, but
Who
giving that
knows?
inflection and
Maybe
that
you'll
different
learn
tone,
something
so
while
it's
you
a
do it.
completely different experience from like a Hancock. Maybe.
What's
Ready to
wonderful
get
about
this
all this
show on
too
the
is because
road?
before there were no choices, right? So you were
is
forced
a lot to ask.
as people
Fine.
writing quests,
I
the
could
quest designers would
do
have to make it so that
75,
you had
but
all
that's
the
as high
information,
as I'll
absolutely
go.
all the information, and sometimes
means
that
you're
meant
up to
that
the
it was pretty
task.
long before you actually got through somebody talking about what the quest
Hot
was.
dog.
Whereas here, it's like,
Have
no,
those
like,
dogs on
if you
back
want
at
to
long
drill down and
last.
get more, you
Just
can
make
ask
sure
more
once
about,
you
like,
find out
more
where
about the
they're
camp
hiding,
and how to build a camp
their
and stuff.
leader
But it's
gets
not
the
forced
message.
in front of you. It's
The
something that you
wayward
choose
gets
to do.
left alone.
We actually went back to previous
and on the
dialogues, too.
topic of
So, like,
leaders,
characters like
you know, one
Modus,
of my people found
Rose,
this tape in the camp across
the mayor
way,
of Grafton, who's
recorded
awesome.
by
We can
one
go back and you can now
overseer
actually
of
talk to them. Right? Like, some of my favorite lines that we rewrote were like talking to the mayor of Grafton, like saying, "You know
But
that
it seems it
everyone's
might have
dead."
been
He's
left
like,
for someone
"Yes."
from
And it
hell.
makes governing these people way easier.
And that's something we
Right.
plan to do
Sounds like she
more of
set the
moving
camp
forward,
up
is
so
going
people
back
could
and
get some
revisiting some of these old
practice in.
characters, giving them a few more dialogue options. So
I feel like it's
Probably
almost
worth
it's
looking
comfortable
into.
having
Things
played
you
in the
could use a
PTS
little
myself.
refresher.
In speaking with some of these existing characters, I didn't even process at first that there was now a dialogue option. It just feels like it's just natural part of the progression now.
My hope is that people coming in fresh, they will have no idea. You will tell your friends, like, no, the mayor did not do that. That was not there. When we were talking about 76 launch, imagine none of that. And that it's just like you have these, like, because there are a lot of characters that people really did love, and now you get to interact with them. For example, with Rose, Rose kind of is an interesting character. Some people absolutely adore her. Some people hate her. And just being able to role play that, saying like, "Listen, Rose, I don't like you, but I will
Rose.
work with you." It's satisfying. Or say, "Hey, sign me up for Rose's army." That's an option too if you want us to role play it that way.
Has anyone here been chosen to be in the PTS?
Don't have one.
All right.
Woo!
All right.
Thank you.
I wanted to just thank you. That has been a huge win for us. We've gotten a ton of great feedback. We've made substantive changes to the balance of the end game as a result of that in our gold bullion system. We've found a ton of bugs, no surprise to anyone here, and we've been able to fix it. And so more and more, you're going to see more and more of that going forward. We do plan on PTSing every major patch going forward. So it's been a huge win. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, there's a meeting 3 times a week I'm in where we go through all the issues that you come up, and we really, there's a lot of stuff on our hit list that came from you guys, so thank you.
Man, I feel like a lot of people are going to fall in love with Mort.
It's the hair.
It is the hair. That's slick hair.
Yeah, definitely ask him all the questions you can. It's hysterical.
And the human NPCs, or ghoul NPCs, which I guess count as human, right? are not the only new addition. We've also added a whole bunch of new locations, including 2 main civilizations.
Yeah, so there's the 2 main factions. And here you see Foundation, where the settlers have built up at Spruce Knob, which was the highest point in West Virginia. And before, it was just a workshop, and people would go there and build stuff. But I thought it was such a great space that I wanted to really build it up. And all the people here have this background in construction. So it's like really clean and new, and with armor plating on log cabins, which is a great aesthetic, I think. So you can get a good look of it here.
I imagine that the cities kind of act as like a hub location where you can purchase things and trade with other players. And all the players interact with like the NPCs, and it's just a good time.
As you get to know these characters too, like I could see either like a Creator or Foundation. It just could be the new place that you just go to do stuff, because you start to hopefully empathize, care about these guys. We want to try to make each one of them distinct. Like you definitely get a vibe here from a Foundation that these guys are perhaps more civilized, but they're actually also squatters, right? Like these people came arguably taking your land as 76ers to make it their own. And so they kind of have a vibe of like, you know, hey, we're here, we're taking this land, we're good people, but it's our land now, which makes it a kind of interesting dichotomy versus the Creator, who, you know, they're raiders, and so that's, you know, typically you'd think they're wearing the black hats. But actually, for these guys, this is their land. They arguably were here before even the people of 76 came out of the vault. So if anyone has a claim to this area, it's them. So it makes it so that it's not a black and white choice, that you could really make a more nuanced decisions. And, you know, as you get to know them, you know, you might say that, like, you know, most people play good guys. So, you know, we expect a lot of people to go with the settlers. But the raiders, it's like they have a point, you know, and if you really listen to them, you're like, yeah, why are those settlers over here? They don't own this land.
Yeah, everyone just thinks they're scary because they're hanging up corpses, but that's just so they don't
They
have to
gentle
shoot
hearts.
you. Yeah.
I don't know, Ferret. It sounds like you'd be a raider then.
Actually, what we found in this was just interesting for the PTS is that the majority of people have played the settler side, and I'm a big role player too, so I like playing the white hat, as Ferret puts it. But man, the Raiders quest line's outstanding in this, so you could definitely do both. We can talk a little bit about how you can dive into both as well. You don't have to just choose one or the other for most of the game to the end. Do you want to talk about that a little?
Sure. Pardon. No, you can basically, like, at the very beginning, you do make a choice of, like, who you initially are talking about. The main quest, can't get into spoilers. But it's not, you're not precluded from basically, you know, taking a little from column A and a little call from B. And you can sort of go down both quest lines, and to a point to where you have to make a decision. There's a point to where it's like, dude, if I do this, there is no way they're going to work with me on this. So, but you can go far enough that you can really get a sense of who these are. Whoever you wind up siding with, it's not like you can't be friends with the other side. We have a reputation system, and so the side you do choose to help, those guys you're going to get a big, huge bump on, you know, your relationship with them. But it doesn't mean you can't go down the other path as well.
I love this location. Do you want to talk about that?
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is underneath Foundation, so they have dug out this whole sewer area here. You can see some of the lighting changes that we did here, because we did a whole pass on the entire game to change how the lighting works. So it's less flat, there's more contrast, reflections show up better, stuff like that.
Yeah, as a player, I just love seeing this world evolve over time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having seen what it's like from launch to this point, and then moving forward, how the world is changing, and seeing these new locations pop up. It's super exciting.
I don't know, like, if anybody else gets as much of a kick out of it as me, but like the Pip-Boy year, we moved it up a year, which is just it's just a little thing, but just being able to see that, like, no, this is year one. You know, it's different. Year two, probably.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, the world is changing with your participation, right? And it's gonna keep going, right? So.
What's the hardest thing that you've had to change in making Wastelanders?
That's a good one.
Design development's always about the least bad decision, and sometimes. Obviously, we went all in on this. We took extra time to make sure it's really polished and a really exciting experience for everybody. We're really excited to put it going forward. Trying to think of, we did cut some stuff.
I mean, just making dialogue work in a multiplayer game has been pretty challenging.
I imagine that would be
like
a big overhaul.
Yeah, I mean, what we spoke about instancing earlier, that's a major effort that has taken a lot of time. Yeah, there's some big features in this one.
We haven't even talked about allies yet, so you can
there's that one too.
You can get allies that are your friends that come back to camp with you and give you quests, and you can romance. There's 2 major allies we're featuring, and then I don't know how many light allies.
There are 3 of the lighter allies. The lighter allies, they don't have names, but they come. They protect your camp. They have personalities. They give you daily quests. So they're totally cool to have. Then one's a gimme. If you manage to find her in the wilderness, she's just like, thank God, you'll give me a safe place to live. It's a pretty sane reaction to someone out there. And the other ones, you have to prove yourself a little bit. Do something, and then it's you have to satisfy one of their speech challenges for you to join them.
And they also interact with their camp. So here's an anecdote: is when I first started playing this, we'd all played so long without any other NPCs in the game, other human beings, but other NPCs. So I put a camp down, and all of a sudden heard a banjo playing behind me. I was like, what the hell is that? And some random settler had come along and sat down and started playing the banjo at my camp. Even in the cities where you saw Foundation there, like part of this was to show the community coming back together. So both the raiders and the settlers at certain times of day in the evening will come together and play the instruments together, and it's sort of like a campfire situation. So we put a lot of effort into the detail to make it seem really alive for everyone.
It's awesome. We've talked a lot about the story and about some of the characters that you'll meet, but there's also some new events that have been added. Mark, do you want to talk about some of the events?
Yeah, we've got a couple of events lined up for Wastelanders. Right now we're looking at one of our standard events that's player-initiated, riding shotgun. This takes place in the existing location of the Big Bend Tunnel. You're going to help the Blue Ridge Caravan escort some pack Brahmin through the tunnel. And surprise, surprise, things are going to not necessarily go the way you would want them to. You're going to end up having to fight off a bunch of raiders. And, I'm distracted because I'm looking at our new weapon here, the bow, which is super cool.
All sorts of new weapons that we've added. And it's not just arrows.
Archers.
Yeah, you can mod the bow so it explodes or does poison, lots of other things.
I think I also saw some... Is this unique power armor to Wastelanders?
Yeah, we have the Raider and Settler packs, so those both have their own unique power armors. We spent a lot of time on those, and they look great. And you can also see one of them has the Plasma Caster, which is back from the Fallout 1, so that was always my favorite weapon. And also the Gauss minigun, which is like the most expensive weapon to fire in the game.
There are also perks related to the bow as well.
So one thing, going back to the events before I got distracted, one thing we're trying to do more of with our events is give players more jobs in these events. And so, for example, in this one, obviously your primary role is to protect the Brahmin, but there's optional objectives where you can go find these hidden supply caches, and they're going to be different every time you play through. And if you find those supply caches, you're going to get a much better reward at the end. And the same goes for the other event that we're adding. Again, there's a primary objective, but then there's all these other side objectives that you can do. So you're really going to need to coordinate with other players and work together to get the optimal results in the end.
Another thing is just, obviously we're adding dialogue throughout the entire game, but it's a real game changer for events because now you're dealing with people. You're getting to learn some stories about who's here. Actually, it's variable. So there's different variations of it where you get to see different members of the caravan company. Some possibly a little bit more friendly than others.
And I keep seeing Blood Eagle come up as an enemy. Who or what is a Blood Eagle?
A Blood Eagle is a raider's raider. Like you can join the raiders. They're initially hostile to you, so they'll attack. But there's a group that no matter what you do, they're going to be your enemies, and those are the Blood Eagles.
It's also a Norse method of torture.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Look that up on YouTube.
History lessons.
I'm not exactly sure what's in the caravan, but they really, really want it.
Yeah.
Really want it.
Those poor Brahmins.
Yeah. It was important for us to introduce some factions that you couldn't directly influence to keep as enemies. As people who played Fallout 4 know, some of the best enemy combatants in the game are raiders, and so they're back now as Blood Eagles and others. So we'll continue to have interesting and unique combat encounters with them as they try to outflank you and throw grenades and coordinate their attacks in a more intelligent way than the Scorched were ever able to do. So we're really excited just for the combat encounters to have them back in the game as well.
Plus the Cult of the Mothman, which they look freaky. They have some of the best new locations in the game because they basically... There's some locations that have now had a complete makeover and been completely cultified. If you want to talk about the stuff you did.
That's a good word.
Yeah, so
I'm a writer. It's a word now.
It's kind of like the cult outfits you've seen before where there's all the twisted wood everywhere and stuff.
Lots of skulls.
Lots of skulls. Glowing things. But also if you come there at the right time of day, You'll see special stuff, maybe. Not going to spoil it.
Wink. Let's see. Well, we have a lot going on. Wastelanders releases April 7th.
It does?
What am I doing here?
Also on Steam on April 7th as well.
Yes, Steam.
We have a lot coming in a couple of weeks, or in the remaining weeks leading up to that. You can check out our community calendar that will be available in our recap article and on Inside the Vault. But
There'll be a quiz on that in 10 minutes, so memorize it fast.
But we've talked a lot about Wastelanders. Is there anything else you have on the horizon in terms of?
Yeah, listen, we have a packed calendar this year. We're going to be excited to show you everything that's coming beyond Wastelanders in a future event. But it will include such exciting things that we've talked about in the past. Legendary perks are a thing. We are going to allow players level 50 and up to take part in a new perk system where you'll be able to slot in a new perk and then also scrap existing cards that you have filling in your card inventories. We're also looking at renormalizing the game. I know Mark's really excited for that. He can talk about that a little if you want. We are going to rebalance the game and make it more of we're calling it one Wasteland experience, like the one Tamriel experience Tazo did a while ago. You want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, so the one Wasteland experience basically makes the whole world viable for you again at any level, right? Because we're going to normalize enemies to be at your level. But even better, it normalizes to your friend's level too, so you can play together. So I think this is going to be a much more multiplayer-friendly world, because now if you're level 300 and one of your friends joins the game, you can team up and play together and both have a really good time. So I'm very excited about this change.
It makes it so the players are more interacting in the world. It's not like high-level zones and low-level zones. People are ignoring each other. We're really excited for that. And it's been a big comment from PTS as well. We're very excited to put that in the PTS so you're able to test it and play it and give us feedback, and we'll tweak it. That's the new loop. Test it, play it, give us feedback, we'll tweak it. And last, I know there's a lot of builders in our game. We are looking at that as well. We're going to take a real big effort into making your camp budgets bigger, different ways to build, exciting ways to interact with the game and keep it alive. I know my wife spends a ton of time building in this game. That's what she is, a builder, and we want to support that. So I'm happy at home, and so you guys are happy.
Well, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you everybody for participating and hanging out with us today. Wastelanders releases on April 7th. It is a free update if you own Fallout 76. It will also be coming to Steam that day. If you haven't entered our raffle, we'll be drawing that around 3 o'clock to win a custom Xbox One X, I believe. The hands-on experience is over here, making sure I get all my points. There's Twitch Prime rewards that are claimable.
Yes.
Just check out our Bethesda.net article on that so you get yours before April 9th. Those goes away.
If you signed up for PTS, we're also going to be letting in more and more people over the next month to keep that full and vibrant as well, to keep people playing as we continue to test it for our release in April.
Doom Battle Mode panel is next at 3:30, and thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.